The pen was halfway to the paper when Michael heard it. A soft voice, barely a whisper, cutting through the expensive silence of the boardroom. "Don't sign. It's a trap." Michael's hand froze. The gold pen slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the polished wooden table. Everyone turned to stare at him. His business partner, David, smiled awkwardly. The foreign investor, Marcus, leaned forward with concern in his sharp eyes. But Michael wasn't looking at them. His eyes were locked on the cleaning lady standing beside his chair. She wore a simple blue uniform. Her hair was tied neatly under a scarf. She was holding a trash bag in one hand. She had just whispered something impossible. Something that made his heart stop. "Hello family, welcome back. Please take a moment to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. It truly means a lot to us. Don't forget to share it with your friends and loved ones and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new story. So sit back and relax as we dive into the story." "Mr. Michael, are you all right?" Marcus asked, his smooth accent filling the room. Michael blinked. His throat felt dry. I need 5 minutes," he said suddenly, standing up. David's smile faded. 5 minutes? What? Everything's ready. We've been working on this deal for months. "I just need to handle something," Michael replied firmly. His voice was calm, but inside his mind was racing. Marcus frowned. "Mr. Michael, we've reviewed everything already. There's nothing more to check. Let's finalize this." Michael shook his head. 5 minutes, he repeated. Without another word, he turned and walked out of the boardroom. Behind him, confused whispers filled the air. Champagne glasses sat waiting on the side table. Cameras had been ready to capture the biggest moment of his life. But now, everything felt wrong. In the hallway, Michael saw the cleaning lady pushing her cart slowly toward the elevator. His shoes clicked loudly against the marble floor as he hurried after her. "Excuse me," he called out sharply. She turned around, startled. Her eyes widened when she saw him. "You," Michael said, pointing at her. "Come with me. Now." She hesitated for a moment, then nodded quietly. "Yes, sir." He led her down the corridor into a small break room. When they were inside, he closed the door and faced her. His arms were folded across his chest. His face was hard. "Talk," he said coldly. "What did you mean by, 'don't sign'? Are you out of your mind?" The woman stood by the door. Her hands were trembling slightly, but her voice was steady. "Sir, I know this sounds crazy," she said softly. "But please listen to me. I've heard things. Conversations that weren't meant for my ears." Michael stared at her. "What things?" "They're setting you up," she whispered. "Your partner, David, and that company, Titanium Industries. They're using this contract to trap you. If you sign today, you'll lose everything." Michael felt the room spin. His throat tightened. He wanted to laugh. He wanted to call security. But something in her eyes stopped him. Fear. Honesty. Truth. Who was this woman? And why would she risk everything to warn him? Michael stared at the woman for a long moment. His mind was racing with questions. This was insane. A cleaning lady was telling him not to sign the biggest deal of his life. But something about her made him pause. Her eyes didn't look crazy. They looked afraid. Afraid for him. "How long have you been working here?" he asked slowly. 8 months, sir," she replied. "Mostly evening shifts. I clean the offices after everyone leaves." Michael walked to the window. Outside, the city of New York stretched endlessly before him. The afternoon sun painted the skyscrapers gold. From up here, everything looked peaceful. But inside him, a storm was brewing. "Why should I believe you?" he asked without turning around. "Because I have proof," she said quietly. "I've seen things. I've heard too much. They think cleaners are invisible, sir. But we're not. We hear everything." Michael turned to face her. "What's your name?" "Emily," she said. "Emily Parker." "Emily," Michael repeated. He studied her carefully. She wasn't dressed fancy. She had no reason to lie. She had nothing to gain from this. But what if she was right? "If this is a lie," he said coldly, "if you're trying to play games or blackmail me, you'll lose your job immediately." Emily nodded slowly. "I understand, sir. But if I keep quiet and you lose everything, I'll never forgive myself." The firmness in her voice made Michael hesitate again. He had built his company from nothing. He had worked day and night for 15 years. And David had been with him through it all. David was his best friend since college. Could David really betray him? "Do you have this proof now?" Michael asked. Emily shook her head. "Not here, sir. It's too dangerous. Meet me this evening at 7 o'clock in this same room. I'll bring everything." Michael thought for a moment. This could be a complete waste of time. Or it could save his life. Fine, he said finally. 7 o'clock. But if I don't see anything convincing, it'll be your last day working here. Emily lowered her eyes. I understand. She turned and left quietly. Michael stood alone in the break room, his heart pounding. The city sounds drifted up from below. Car horns. Sirens. Life moving on like normal. But nothing felt normal anymore. Back in the conference room, everyone was waiting impatiently. David looked up the moment Michael walked in. Everything all right? Yes, Michael replied calmly, sitting down. Marcus smiled. Shall we continue? Michael looked at the contract in front of him. All those pages. All those promises. His entire future was in those documents. But now, doubt had planted itself in his mind like a seed. Actually, Michael said slowly, I've decided to review certain clauses again. Marcus's smile disappeared. Review? Mr. Michael, we've spent weeks finalizing this. David's eyes darkened slightly. Michael, what's going on? You're making us look unprofessional. Michael stared at his best friend. For the first time, he noticed something he hadn't seen before. The tension behind David's smile. The impatience in his voice. The decision is mine, Michael said firmly. Let's postpone this until tomorrow. Marcus slammed his palm on the table. This delay could ruin the deal. You're making a mistake. Then let it be my mistake, Michael said coldly. He placed the contract into his briefcase. Meeting adjourned. He stood up and walked out, leaving behind angry faces and whispered curses. But as he rode the elevator down to his office, one question burned in his mind. What if Emily was telling the truth? That evening, Michael arrived at the break room exactly at 7 o'clock. The building was quiet now. Most workers had gone home. The hallways were empty except for the soft hum of the air conditioning. Emily was already there, sitting quietly with a small backpack on her lap. When she saw him, she stood up quickly. Good evening, sir, she said softly. Michael nodded. Good evening. I'm here. Show me what you have. He sat down, his face serious. Emily unzipped her bag and brought out her phone. Her fingers shook a little as she scrolled through it. It all started 3 weeks ago, she began. I was cleaning Mr. David's office one evening when I heard voices from the next room. She took a deep breath. I recognized his voice. And a woman's voice. Michael's eyes narrowed. A woman? Yes, sir. She visits sometimes in the evenings when most workers have left. Her name is Victoria. Michael felt his heart skip a beat. Victoria. His ex-girlfriend. The woman who had left him 2 years ago, saying he was too busy and too ordinary for her lifestyle. Emily turned her phone and showed him a blurry picture. It was taken through a slightly open door. Michael's breath caught in his throat. There she was. Victoria. Sitting in David's office laughing. What is she doing with David? Michael whispered. Sir, she's working with him, Emily said quietly. They're planning something terrible against you. Michael's hands clenched into fists. Show me more. Emily clicked on an audio file and pressed play. A faint recording began. The sound was slightly noisy, but the voices were clear enough. David's voice came through. Once he signs, we'll have full control of his assets. Victoria's voice followed. Are you sure Michael won't suspect anything? David laughed. Michael has always been too naive. It was true when you dated him, and it's true now. Victoria laughed softly. And if he discovers the truth? He won't, David said confidently. Trust me, Victoria. In 48 hours, his company will belong to us. Michael felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. The room spun around him. He could barely breathe. That was David's voice. Unmistakable. And Victoria, the woman he had once loved deeply, was laughing about destroying him. There's more, Emily said quietly. She scrolled again and showed him screenshots. Bank transfers. Secret documents. Emails. Look here, she said, pointing to the images. This is the version of the contract they want you to sign. But this, she showed another photo, is the real one they prepared behind your back. Michael leaned closer. What's the difference? In your copy, you're supposed to keep 60% control of your company, Emily explained. But in the fake one, you only have 20%. They'll take everything, sir. Michael's hands trembled as he stared at the documents. This is fraud. Document forgery. A crime. Emily nodded slowly. Yes, sir. They're counting on your trust to finish you. Michael sat back heavily in the chair. The room suddenly felt too small. His childhood friend. His business partner. The woman he had once loved. all of them plotting to destroy him. He stared at the floor, his voice barely above a whisper. "Why are you helping me, Emily?" She looked at him with soft but steady eyes. "Because you've always treated people here with respect, sir. I may be a cleaner, but I know kindness when I see it. You greet everyone. You don't look down on us. I couldn't just watch them ruin you." Her words hit Michael deeper than she could imagine. For years he had trusted all the wrong people. But the person saving him was the one everyone ignored. The humble cleaning lady. Michael looked at Emily carefully. There was something more to her story. Something she wasn't telling him. "Emily," he said slowly. "Who are you really?" She looked confused. "Sir, I'm just a cleaning lady." "No," Michael said, shaking his head. "I checked your file today. King's College. Bachelor's degree in business administration. You worked at Deloitte as a senior analyst." Emily's face went pale. She looked away. "How does someone with your qualifications end up pushing a cleaning cart?" Michael asked gently. Emily was quiet for a long moment. Then she sighed deeply. "I worked at Deloitte for 2 years, she said softly. "I was good at my job. Really good. But every time I got close to a promotion, there was always a reason why I couldn't move up." She smiled sadly. "At first they said I needed more experience. Then they said my communication style didn't fit the company culture. That was just a polite way of saying I didn't belong there." Michael frowned. "What do you mean?" "I came from a very poor background, sir," Emily explained. "I didn't have fancy clothes or the kind of accent they liked. Most of my colleagues were children of rich people. People with powerful last names. I was the only one who came to work from the poor side of town." Her voice cracked slightly. "I worked hard. I gave everything. But no matter what I did, they always found one excuse to remind me I wasn't their type. My clothes. My shoes. Even my hair. Nothing ever pleased them." Michael felt anger rising inside him. "So they pushed you out?" Emily nodded. "Yes. They didn't fire me directly, but they made my life so miserable that I had to resign. I tried reporting them, but who listens to a poor girl with no connections and no money? They would have crushed me. So I quietly walked away." "I'm sorry you went through that," Michael said sincerely. Emily wiped her eyes. "I didn't have time to feel sorry for myself. My younger sister, Sophie, was born with a heart condition. The surgery costs over $200,000. When I left Deloitte, I needed any job I could get. This one came with health insurance. It wasn't much, but it covered her medications." Michael's chest tightened. "So that's why you're working here?" "Yes, sir," Emily said quietly. "That's why I'm here." The silence that followed was heavy. Michael looked at her with new understanding. She wasn't just a cleaner. She was a woman who had been crushed by a system that didn't value her. Yet she still found the strength to help him. "Emily," he said firmly, "I promise you when this is over, I'll make sure you and Sophie are taken care of. Her surgery. Your job. Everything. You have my word." Emily shook her head. "I don't want pity, sir." "It's not pity," Michael said quietly. "It's justice. You risked everything to save me. The least I can do is stand by you." Emily smiled faintly through her tears. "Thank you. But I need more proof," Michael said. "I have to be absolutely sure before I make a move." Emily nodded. "I can get more. But it'll be risky." "Then be careful," Michael said, meeting her eyes. They sat in silence for a moment. Two very different worlds connected by fate. Outside the window, the city lights began to twinkle as darkness fell. Michael made a decision right there. He would not sign that contract. Not until he knew the complete truth. And he would protect Emily no matter what happened. Because sometimes he realized the people society ignores are the ones who save your life. The next morning, Michael arrived at the office early. His eyes were red from lack of sleep. He had spent the entire night thinking about everything Emily had told him. David. Victoria. The fake contract. The betrayal. He still couldn't believe it. But the evidence was there. The recordings. The screenshots. The bank transfers. At 9 o'clock sharp, his assistant's voice came through the intercom. "Sir, Mr. David is here with the security chief. They say it's urgent." Michael's heart pounded. He had a feeling he knew what this was about. "Send them in." Seconds later, the door opened. David walked in with a serious expression, followed by the security chief, Mr. Thompson. "Michael," David said, sounding almost apologetic. "I'm sorry to start the day like this, but we have a serious problem." Michael leaned back in his chair, keeping his face calm. "What kind of problem?" "Theft," David said, dropping the word like a bomb. One of the cleaning staff has been stealing from executive offices. We have evidence. Michael's jaw tightened. So this was it. David's plan to destroy Emily's credibility. Who? Emily Parker, David replied coldly. He pulled out his tablet and placed it on the desk. These are images from the security cameras. Michael leaned forward. The screen showed photos of Emily in different offices. David's office. Marcus's office. Even his own. In this one, David said, swiping, you can see her going through my drawer. Here she's in Marcus's office checking files. And here, he paused dramatically, she's in your office going through your desk. Michael studied each image carefully. The angles were suspicious. You couldn't see what Emily was actually doing. Only that she was standing near desks. What exactly did she steal? Michael asked, his voice dangerously calm. David exchanged a glance with the security chief. Cash from my wallet. A watch from Marcus's desk. And from you, he paused, she accessed your computer and copied confidential files onto a USB drive. Michael pretended to look shocked. I see. Bring her in. Already on it, David said, checking his watch. Security is bringing her up now. A moment later there was a knock on the door. Thompson opened it. Emily walked in quietly, flanked by 2 security guards. Her face was pale, but her chin was lifted high. She looked frightened, but there was also quiet strength in her eyes. Miss Parker, David said with fake sympathy. I'm afraid we need to ask you some questions about certain irregularities. Emily's voice was calm, though soft. What irregularities? Theft, David said smoothly. Breaking into executive offices. Accessing confidential information. Stealing valuable items. That's not true, Emily said firmly. I was cleaning. That's my job. David raised an eyebrow. At 6 o'clock in the evening? In executive offices where you had no business being? He shook his head slowly. I don't think so, Emily. I think you were snooping. Stealing. Maybe even selling company secrets. That's a lie, Emily snapped, her voice rising for the first time. David smiled slightly as if he had been waiting for that reaction. Is it? Then maybe Michael should check something for me. He turned toward Michael. Michael, please open the top right drawer of your desk. The one where you keep your emergency USB drive. Michael's heart thumped as he slowly reached for the drawer. He pulled it open and pretended to look surprised. The USB drive was gone. David nodded triumphantly. See? It's missing. And who had access to this office last evening? Emily Parker. Emily's eyes widened in disbelief. That's not true. I didn't take anything. Then where is it? David shot back coldly. Tell us. I don't know, Emily whispered, tears starting to form in her eyes. Michael watched her carefully. He knew this was all a setup. David had planted everything. The missing drive. The fake evidence. The perfect trap. But now it was time to spring his own trap. Michael stood up slowly from his chair. Everyone in the room turned to look at him. His face was calm, but his eyes were cold as ice. David, Michael said quietly. Can I speak to you privately for a moment? David blinked. Michael, there's nothing to discuss. We should call the police right now. Privately, Michael repeated. His voice was firm, commanding. David hesitated, then nodded. Fine. Thompson, stay with her. Don't let her move. The 2 men stepped out into the hallway. The moment the door closed, Michael turned sharply to face David. What are you doing, David? He demanded, his voice low and controlled. David looked confused. What do you mean? I'm protecting our company. Cut the lies, Michael snapped, stepping closer. I know everything. David's face twitched. Everything? What are you talking about? I know about titanium, Michael said, his voice calm but heavy. I know about the modified contracts. The fake clauses. The $15 million you took. David's face turned pale. What? I also know about Victoria, Michael continued, watching the guilt spread across his friend's face. I know about both of you. And your plan to ruin me. David's mouth opened slightly, but no words came out. The fake innocence dropped from his face, replaced by something darker. Bitterness. Anger. Brida. Why, David? Michael asked quietly. After 15 years of friendship. After building this company together. Why betray me like this? David let out a dry laugh. Why? Because I'm tired, Michael. I'm tired of living in your shadow. I'm tired of being the man behind the curtain while you stand in the spotlight. His voice grew louder. We built this company together, but who gets all the glory? Every magazine cover says Michael Reynolds, the visionary CEO. Every award has your name on it. People only remember me as your partner. The quiet one. The helper. The nobody. Michael stared at him silently. You think I don't deserve more? David spat. You think I'm not capable? Victoria showed me I could have it all. That I deserve it. So you decided to destroy me, Michael said quietly. To steal everything we built together. I decided to take what was mine, David said coldly. If you don't sign the merger today, Titanium will pull out. Your company will collapse. You'll lose everything. But me. He smiled bitterly. I'll still have my 15 million. I win either way. Michael looked at him calmly. Except I'm not signing. David's expression darkened. Then you're a fool. Maybe, Michael said softly. But I won't lose my integrity. He slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. And by the way, I just recorded everything you said. David's face turned red instantly. You recorded me? Every single word, Michael said quietly. And the woman you tried to frame? Emily Parker? She's the reason I found out the truth. She risked everything to protect me. She has more loyalty in her little finger than you ever had in 15 years. David's eyes widened in panic. That recording won't hold up in court. Maybe not, Michael said calmly. But it will hold up in front of the board. And the press. And every investor who trusted you. He turned toward the office door. You're finished, David. I'm firing you immediately. Security will escort you out. David reached out desperately. Michael, wait. But Michael didn't stop. He walked back into his office with quiet confidence. Inside, Emily was still standing, flanked by the two guards. Her eyes widened as he entered. Chief Thompson, Michael said firmly. Release her. Miss Parker is free to go. Those accusations were false. Thompson blinked in surprise. Sir? I said let her go, Michael repeated. The guard stepped back immediately. Emily exhaled shakily, confusion written all over her face. Michael turned to her, his tone softening. Emily, how would you like a real job? One that matches your qualifications. She stared at him, stunned. Sir? I need a new chief financial officer, Michael said with a smile. Someone I can trust. Someone who values honesty more than anything else. Interested. Emily's hands flew to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. Are you serious? Completely, Michael said. And there's one more thing. I heard your sister needs surgery. Consider it done. We're setting up a company healthcare fund, and Sophie's operation will be the first expense we cover. Emily covered her face with her hands, sobbing softly. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. 3 months later, Michael sat beside Emily in a hospital waiting room. Sophie's surgery had just finished. The doctor stepped out, smiling. She's going to make it, he said gently. Emily broke down, tears of joy rolling down her cheeks. Michael smiled and placed a hand on her shoulder. Of course she will. She's got a strong sister watching over her. Emily looked up at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, Michael. For everything. Don't thank me, he said softly. You saved my life. He paused, then added with a smile. Oh, by the way, the board voted yesterday. They made you a full partner. Welcome to Reynolds and Parker Enterprises. Emily gasped. Partner? Michael chuckled. You've earned it. They both sat quietly, watching through the glass as a nurse adjusted Sophie's blanket. Michael thought about everything that had happened. The lies. The betrayal. And the one simple whisper that had changed his life forever. Sometimes he realized, it's not the loudest voices that save you. Sometimes it's the quiet ones. The ones nobody notices. The humble. The kind. The brave. And as he looked at Emily, he knew one thing for certain. She hadn't just saved his company. She had restored his faith in people. And that was worth more than any business deal in the world. We've come to the end of today's story, and I hope it touched your heart. Thank you for watching, and remember to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories. See you in the next one.